On tonight's civilization fight, we have. No, you're not doing this again. On the orange side, we have the empire that combined most of north and northwestern India, as well as eastern half of Iran and parts of China and Central Asia, the Kushan Empire. And on the other side, the purple side, we have literally everyone else. What? They fought the Indo-Saka people, they fought the Satavahanas, they even fought the Gupta Empire. And that's just the Indian empires. They fought the Iranians, they fought the Central Asians, they fought the Chinese, and they fought basically everyone else in the Eastern world. Did I hear that right? Yeah, and to find out more, let's jump into it. The Kushans were one of the many direct descendants of Proto-Indo-Europeans or Aryans living in Central Asia or the Eurasian steppes. They were one of the tribes out of 5 of a larger group of people called the Yuezhi people living in the northern western part of China or the Xinjiang region of modern day China. Their tribes were pastoralists and were horse archers, kind of like the Mongols. That was until the Chinese emperor at the time attacked them. It forced them to move southwards into the southern Central Asian region called the Bactria. They did so by defeating the Greeks that lived in the Bactrian regions. And here they split into 5 groups, out of which one were the Kushans. Around the 1st century AD, they united all the Yuezhi tribes and started conquering southward into India under their king Kujala. They defeated and subjugated the Indo-Saka people of the northwest India, making them their tributaries. They would first settle into the Gandhara region of ancient India, which is northwest Pakistan and southern Afghanistan. They would create 2 capitals of Kapisa and Pushkalavati near Kabul and Peshawar respectively. Kujala's grandson Vim Hidasphase would take over next. He would start conquering further inland into India, taking over the regions of Punjab, Awadh, and Braj. And that is how they came into the possession of the Ganga Valley. This made Kushans an Indian dynasty. This emperor, Vim Hidasphase, would not just conquer but also consolidate. He would be the first emperor in India who would start using gold coins, and those gold coins were used to fund the trade that happened in the Silk Road that connected China to the Roman Empire. He would then be succeeded by Kanishka I in 127 AD. Wait, that's a very Indian name. Well, that's because that's what Indians called him. We do not have many written sources from the Kushans themselves. We have Greeks writing about them, which is why their father's surname is Kadaspes. That's a Grecofied version of their names. And similarly, Kanishka is probably an Indianized version of his real name. His name was first found in the Raptak inscription in modern day Afghanistan. Here he lists the names of all the kings in his dynasty, and here his name is listed as Kanishka. It was probably done to relate with the local population who spoke a version of Sanskrit or Prakrit. Otherwise, in coins found in their non-Indian regions, he was called Kanerka. Non-Indian region? Kanishka sent his armies to reconquer his ancestral land in northwestern China, and he would succeed. And conversely, he conquered further inland into India, taking over Malwa region, including Ujjain, as well as the ancestral home of the Magadh Empire. Because of this, he had to establish 2 capitals, one around Mathura and one around Kabul. He would even send his armies further inland to China to fight them, only to have them defeated. Once again, conquest was not the only thing he did. He strengthened the trade routes in between India and the rest of the world by connecting India through the land Silk Route. Until now, Indians traded with Romans and everyone else through the sea, but now they did so with land as well. He patronized Buddhism, and because of him, Buddhism spread all the way throughout Central Asia. Before him, the Kushan kings practiced a version of Zoroastrianism or the Persian religion. After him, the Kushans would adopt Buddhism as well as Shaivism, which is devotion towards Shiva, as their state religion. Some of the earliest Shiv temples were built under their patronage. It was under Kanishka that Buddhism split into two, Mahayana and Hinayana. Under his patronage, the Gandhara school of art emerged. It combined the Greek as well as Central Asian and Indian influences into one. Wow, that's a very productive king. He was so productive that his soldiers grew tired of him and burnt him alive the moment he got sick. Holy! He did all of this and more within just 23 years of his reign. What even is this guy? He's often referred to as the second Ashoka by multiple scholars. He deserves it. 2 generations after, Vasudev I took over. Vasudev? I mean, they Indianized quick. Vasudev was considered the last great king of the Kushan Empire. He was a great patron of Shaivism as he minted Shiva on his coin. His father had shifted the main locus of power from Kabul to Mathura, and here they converted to Hinduism. Why he found Shiva in the city of Krishna is beyond me, but his name Vasudev is an allusion to the fact that his father or him himself must have wanted to relate with the local people by taking on the name of their god, as Vasudev was another name for Krishna. For most of his reign, the Kushan Empire found itself peaceful, so a vast amount of art flourished during his time. A lot of Buddhist sculptures were dated to his time. Towards the end of his reign, a new dynasty would take over in Persia. The name of the first classical Persian dynasty was called the Achaemenid Empire, and then after the conquest of Alexander came the Parthian dynasty, and then now around the time of Vasudev, another dynasty would take over called the Sassanids. They immediately began conquest in every direction, including moving across the Hindu Kush into Indian lands. Vasudev and his successor Kanishka too would lose most of their holdings in Central Asia and Gandhara, limiting them to their holdings in Punjab and Ganga Valley. In a few generations, they would lose that too to a rising Gupta Empire. So that was the political history. What was their culture like? They wore these long tunics, kind of like the Scythians or the Saka people, and they had these belts around their waists, making them kind of look like the kurtas that modern Indians think is traditional Indian wear. From their coinage, we can clearly see their shift from their older pagan version of Zoroastrianism to Buddhism and eventually to Hinduism. They have over 30 gods depicted in their multiple coins. Some of them were gods of their own pantheon, some of them were Hindu gods, some of them depicted Buddha and Bodhisattvas, and some depicted Greek gods. It seems apparent that they would believe in any god as their god. Like here we have an image of them bowing down to a Shivling in a relief from 2nd century AD, and here we have them making patronage to a Bodhisattva, which was a Buddhist concept of a person who has achieved Buddhahood but has decided to delay his nirvana and stay back on earth in order to help other people. And here is some of the depictions of their own gods. They tended to personify Zoroastrian concepts that had no human depictions in Persia, which is a very strange fusion of Vedic and Zoroastrian concepts. Here is their depiction of Zeus, here is their depiction of Buddha, and here is the depiction of Ahura Mazda. Their most interesting deity is Osho, which many people believe to be the Persian god of wind, but many still believe him to be Shiva, and some even believe him to be Vishnu. I mean, look at this coin. If you were to depict Shiva on a coin, how else would you depict him? Osho had grown to become their central deity as time went on. Only two gods were depicted on their coins from the time they moved to Mathura as their capital: Osho and Ardokso. Ardokso is what they call Ashi Venguhi, which is the Iranian or Zoroastrian goddess of wealth and fortune. She is sometimes even believed to be Shri, or in other words, Lakshmi. There are even reliefs from this time that depict Buddha and Kartikeya, who is the god of war and son of Shiva. And Osho is often depicted with his wife Uma, or as they called it, Umo. Uma is another name for Parvati, Shiva's wife. Now, it's entirely possible that Osho was their wind god when they came in, but Indians did what they do best. It's called syncretism, and it goes something like this. Hey, nice god you have got there. Yeah, he's pretty nice. We call him Zeus. He shoots lightning and... Oh yeah, we know him. We call him Indra. Oh, okay. So it's entirely possible that Indians saw his trident and started calling him Shiva. And the Kushans just accepted it and started worshipping him as Shiva. So if you asked me what they were, I would tell you that they were Buddhist, Shaivite, Zoroastrian weirdos who wore kurta pajama and went to war with all of the Eastern world. Anyway, when the Gupta Empire conquered them, they vassalized them and made them into minor lords in their empire. The Kushans and the Scythians would become the direct ancestors of the Pashtun people of Afghanistan and northwestern Pakistan, as well as many smaller tribes in India. In particular, Jats and Roars claim partial descendants from them. If you look at them in the genetic map of India, you will find that they have an outsized amount of Central Asian DNA in them. In the next episode, we will talk about the rise of the Gupta Empire, often considered to be the golden age of India. See you next time.